Thanks for making time for this.
Of course. I have to. I've been in. First of all, are we recording right now?
I just hit record, but it's not live,
Okay.
so we're not. It's
Okay,
not doing anything
great.
yet. Just saving the data.
So how are you feeling on launch day? Well, we
I'll
can
tell-
save this for a minute.
Okay. Yes, when Unclobber, first book, when it came out, I remember our mutual friend Rob Bell giving me the advice that he said you can't control anything that happens once a book is out. The best books in the world never get sold, and really crappy books sell a lot. There's really very little correlation there. He said, so the best thing you can do is just enjoy the process of writing as much as you can, because that's really the cake. And then if anything happens after that, that's just frosting. So just make sure you have a good a cake as possible, and then you're set. And if you get frosting, great. If not, so with the first book, I just tried to release all the outcome. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't care. And it kind of worked. Like, I just enjoyed the writing of it. So then in this one, the writing was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Oh, was it so
Yeah.
fun writing this one?
Yes.
I feel like I can tell. It has a lightness and a freedom to it
Really?
that probably correlates with. I mean, even the title. Like, we get lighter as we go along. Like,
Yeah.
Unclobber. That was some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you were.
Yeah.
Even the title is heavy. Like, it was, and now the shift. It just feels so much. There's more freedom in it, more power. Did you feel that when you were writing?
I really did. I really did, because I felt like in many ways I'm just sharing a little bit of what I picked up along the way, and it has helped me immensely. Like, to just lay down some of this heavy baggage of you have to believe the right things, and God cares more than anything else about the thoughts in between your head. Like, once those start to dissolve, you can just relax into, I'm just loved as I am. This is amazing. So it did. It felt just like, you know what? If this can help people, which I know Elizabeth Gilbert says, don't write books trying to help people. But if it's okay, Liz, I really wanted to help people here. Like you don't have to carry these heavy beliefs. You don't have to carry these around with you. You can lay them down, and it's okay.
You don't even have to carry the belief that you shouldn't write to help people.
Hey, there you go. Look at you going meta.
I think I can be certain that Liz would be proud of you for letting down any belief that is not serving you.
Nice. I love it.
So what's your hope for the book?
My hope for the book, the space.
Both book.
Oh, look at that. Look at us. We are wonderfully nerdy in all the best ways. My hope, so it's aimed at people who have left or been kicked out of their more conservative families, communities, churches, whatever it is. So they've already done some deconstruction. Like, this is not a book for deconstruction. I'm assuming that some of that has already happened for people. Nor is it really a book about, what you might call reconstruction. I'm not telling you now, here's build your faith like this or build your beliefs like this. And it's not really a memoir, because I share a little bit, but so I'm trying to navigate these three. It's not really this, it's not really this. So my hope is that in this transition space, that as people leave their more conservative world and find something a little more, I call it progressive, whatever, open, inclusive, that journey is fraught with fear, confusion, some anger and resentment about where they came from, a lot of loneliness. So my hope for the book is that people would feel seen and known in that journey, that because it's hard doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It is hard, and it is scary. And here's a few things that I and others have found helpful, and if they are helpful for you, great. So I really hope to help people in that transition, that liminal space.
It is. That's what it does. I mean, Abby talks about that time as like the you're holding on to one trapeze bar and you have to, like, in order to eventually get to the next, you have to let go of both in the middle. It's just that, like, scary time. And you know, some of us don't even ever grab onto another bar. You know, some of us just, like, fly. You know, what is your thoughts about? Do you feel that, and I know some of this is in the book, but I know you work with people and you hear from people who have let go of some of the more fundamentalist ideas about Christianity.
Yeah.
And do you talk to people who have both moved into more progressive churches, inclusive churches, like you would say, and people who have just let go of the idea of organized religion completely, but still feel, you know, connected to God and Jesus and all, but not connected to a church anymore? Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, the church conversation is tricky. It's tricky, and I did give, I tried to give a whole chapter to that topic. And there have been people that have come to Kate and mine's church that after just a few weeks, I can tell. And my advice to them is, you might need to just not come to church for a while. Like, I know you're starving for a community, but everything in this space is triggering you. It's poking at old wounds. Like this, you might need a Sabbath from church for a while. And I actually counsel them to stop going to church just to kind of give themselves space to breathe and move through some of that. But then here's what I found is really been interesting in this work is there's actually been a lot of people for whom maybe they've taken the break and then they come back. There's been a lot of people that find this very specific type of healing from their religious wounds and baggage in the context of a church again. And it's kind of like how, a lot of versions of talk therapy, you sit down and you're retelling these traumatic events and in a safe environment, non-judgmental environment where your brain can get new emotional responses to start to attach to these stories and experiences. I have done that exact therapy. Yes, same here. And I kind of feel like maybe some of the church spiritual wounding is similar, where some of those wounds might, I want to say only get healed, but they might, whatever. I'll say only and just be okay with the fact that they might only get healed in the context of a new, safe, non-judgmental church where you can hear, for instance, a pastor stand up and read from the Bible and suddenly it doesn't trigger you anymore. You're like, oh, it's okay if I don't like what he's saying. It's okay if I don't read my Bible. And I'm suddenly okay in this. We had a Sunday, I just one quick story. We had a Sunday a couple months ago where we were meeting in a real traditional space with pews and stained glass because the room had air conditioning and our other space didn't. Sometimes you got to go with creature comforts over spiritual comforts. And people were sitting in the pews and suddenly the band started this old hymn, kind of a modern old hymn, and we realized the slides didn't get loaded into the screen. And so the song leader stops and he's like, oh, sorry guys, I guess we don't have lyrics today. Someone from the back shouts, well, it might be in the hymnals. And you could feel like half the room sort of like, hymnals? And then someone shouts out, oh yeah, it's on page 412. And there was this moment where like half the church were pulling out hymnals of like, this could be fun. The other half were like looking where the exits were. But I tell you what, we had people after that service tell me how healing that was. Because as it turns out, when you're in a safe, loving, non-judgmental community, you can revisit some of those things, like pulling out a freaking hymnal in a pew with stained glass church, and suddenly it's not as scary, it's not as painful. So the church thing is interesting for me.
I hear that. I mean, I remember the first time I ever walked into a church, and the minister, he started talking about God, and he used she again and again.
Yeah.
And I just bawled, Colby. Wow. Just like could not stop crying. Like it was something, and I would have told you, like, I don't need that. I don't need some guy like I claim it myself. You know?
Yeah.
All of these things.
Yeah.
Then when you feel it, it's the same way with Abby. Like when she's really, really, really deeply scarred from church because she grew up a gay kid in a very strict Catholic church, and she just has been. She will tell you she's just furious at the God she doesn't believe in. Right? Like,
It's fair. That's fair.
however, sees a minister with the rainbow, whatever they're wearing, rainbow anything, or sees any kind of minister or priest or whoever just embracing, it just breaks her. It's like how when you get a snake bite. I don't know about snake bites because I don't go outside, but I've seen this on Survivor.
I was like, wait a minute, is this personal experience here? Because I have never gotten a snake bite. But yes, go on.
Snake, what is it? The antidote. That's what it's called, right? Yeah. The antidote has to have some of the poison in it. That's like the church thing. Like the healing has to come from the thing that bit you in the first place, maybe. I get that, Colby. That's good stuff. How does it feel to release a beautiful world-shifting book in the middle of a global pandemic? Good time?
It's what's happening. I mean, there is absolutely zero that I can do about it. I'm just enjoying, like our mutual friend Jen Hatmaker's book also came out today, and I'm like, hey, I'm in good company. You had to cancel your tour, or you didn't. You did it before you had to, which was awesome. But yeah, like this is weird. But I think that this live event that I'm doing tonight, where some friends are coming on and playing music, and I think it could be really fun. And I never would have done. Like this is the invention that Mama Necessity has birthed tonight, and I'm here for it. So it's fine. It's fine. It's fun. It's different.
That's so good. You have a good attitude about this. You seem much less neurotic than most of my writer friends. See all the God.
I don't know. Maybe. Okay, I have taken you. You've been so gracious with your time, Glennon. Thank you for making space for this. I wonder if I can just ask you one question before we sign off here. Okay. For those whom they are experiencing some sort of shift. As you said, I love or I think you said your wife said it, letting go of one, haven't yet grabbed the other, may not, I don't know, you're in this sort of in-between terrifying space. Is there something that you would say, whether it's from your own experience in this process or what you picked up along the way, like what would you say to someone who's in the shift right now and they're like, they're struggling?
I mean, I guess I would say, I think what you said in the beginning of this book, let me just find it. I love how you started this because I feel like, okay, here it is. This could be like the whole tagline of the book. The whole what happened to my faith, nothing you've said, and it's working. Like the idea that people feel afraid that the letting go means that they're losing their faith. This faith is disappearing when in fact it is the faith that is propelling you, right? Away from nothing, right? The very faith you think you're losing is like, whoa, hello, like I'm the one that's making this progress in you, right? If you didn't have that swelling, that longing, that, oh, not this, that is your faith. And you can trust it. You know, you can trust it still. Like, sometimes I feel like one of the very tricky things about any sort of fundamentalist organization, not just religion, but organization, is that often the goal is to separate you from your knowing, right? To constantly tell you not to trust yourself. And that's done in a million different ways with theology that tells us we're bad and we're wicked and all of that. But the scary thing about letting go of those old beliefs is that you actually do have to start to trust the inner self, right? That actually was never wicked and is never bad. And in fact, my belief is that the truest, deepest self that you have is God, right? Which is why whenever I think of Jesus, I always just think, okay, the ultimate is I and the Father are one. So like I would say I and the mother are one, right? Just because that's how I think of it. But the ultimate goal is to get to the place where you are so aligned with that deep, deep knowing, that deepest, truest, beautiful self, that you will be able to say I and the mother are one, right? But you gotta let go of that ring that's telling you not whatever you do. Don't trust that deepest self.
Yeah.
That's why I think that sometimes, Colby, the hardest place on earth to find God is in any fundamentalist religion.
Yep.
Because the main goal is to separate you from that which you must be tied to have any sort of faith.
That's right.
So, so I would just say to them the same thing that you say, you know, that longing inside of you, that knowing, not this, that desire for widening and opening, that can be trusted.
Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of a story in one of the Gospels where Jesus turns to his friends. And at this point, Jesus is exhausted. And he'd lost a close friend. He'd had Pharisees coming after him. He'd had people turning away from him. The dude is exhausted. And he turns to his closest friends and he says, what are people saying about me? You know, he does like this check-in, like, what are people saying about me? Like, which just feels really human and normal to me. And his friends are like, well, some say you're like John the Baptist come back from the dead. Others say you're Elijah. Like the general consensus is you're a reincarnation of some dead guy. And Jesus says, okay, what about you guys though? Like, what do you think about me? What do you say about me? Which again feels so normal. Like, when I don't know who I am anymore, I need to turn to the people who know me best and be like, remind me who I am. Yeah. And Peter says, oh, you are the Christ. You are, which is to say, you are the divine manifestation, or you're the earthly manifestation of the divine. That's who you are. And then to your point, what you said, Jesus says, oh man, blessed are you, Peter, because no one revealed that to you. No one told you that. And then Jesus says, but my Father in heaven revealed that to you. Or as you said, my mother, the divine within revealed. Like Peter had this deep knowing that was who Jesus was. And Jesus is like, oh, yeah. No, you figured that out all on your own. That's cool. Anyway, so I love what you said there. It reminded me of that.
The knowing, that's the journey. It's trusting. For me, it's been the letting go of the idea that it's out there somewhere. You know, and the terrifying, beautiful, freeing, difficult journey of realizing it's just all in here.
Yeah. All right, G, I'm going to let you get back to your wonderful family. And I think everyone in the... We're just about to do one last plug for each other.
I really am. I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful for you. People like me are just very grateful for people like you who are fighting this fight and don't have to be, and loving the way you do. And I just love you, and I love your family, and give Kate a big hug for me.
I will. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.